What is up, everyone, and welcome to another JellyPod episode. It's been about 2 weeks since we've done this because I've been traveling around to BTC Las Vegas, and I'm excited to be back with an exciting podcast with Vespr, Wallet, and Alex. Now, for those that don't know, Vespr is probably the best wallet over on Cardano. It's got a great mobile experience, which was really unique at the time. There weren't really that many wallets on Cardano that had a mobile experience. And honestly, after having used so many wallets in the space, they have one of the cleanest UI and UXs. So I'm super excited to have Alex on from Vespr. We're going to learn a little bit more about his journey as a founder today, what it's been like building Vespr, and some exciting things that are coming or what they've been working on. But yeah, dude, Alex, welcome. The first question that I always like to ask every single guest is how you got into Web3. How did you start working on Vespr today?
Hey, Jason. Let me start by saying that it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for the very nice introduction on, I guess, both a bit myself and what we've been working on for quite a while now. So I guess to get into your question of how I end up getting into it, uh, it's it's like most of us builders end up getting into it first as an investor, or I guess someone that's passionate about the whole mission of crypto as a whole. It is funny that for me personally, Cardano was my first actual encounter to crypto, because many people like usually started with Bitcoin or Ethereum, something one of the more large projects, and then navigated towards Cardano. But for me, I don't know, some friend of mine told me about it while I was living in Scotland. So I was actually living in Edinburgh at the time. So the fact that Cardano was peer-reviewed and a lot of the research was being done in Edinburgh Uni, I was like, that's really cool. I'm just going to look more into it. And I think like many of us, like I very quickly stumbled across Charles's channel and saw like a lot of his videos. I don't remember exactly if I got hooked by the whiteboard video like many people, but definitely seeing like all of the videos from him, the very regular updates and everything that was going on like lively, it played a big role for me, because I really like the openness and the fact that we get like constant updates with everything that's being built. Looking at like alternative chains, I couldn't see something like this. I couldn't see a founder that is so directly involved in the project, and this really appealed to me. So it was a lucky timing. I got in just before the previous bull run. Don't remember even which year it was, but ADA like was below $0.1, like it was 0.08, something like this when I first entered the space. And I, of course, made the mistake of every single person entering the space out there, that I didn't buy enough. So I was just throwing in, little amounts of money, because I was completely new to the space. So I was not putting anything massive. I was just getting, I guess, my feet wet. But yeah, that was my first encounter. That was quite early on. Like staking on Cardano wasn't a thing at the time, and there were no dApps in general. Like it was really, really early on. I remember just waiting on staking to come so that I can actually earn yield on my ADA. Fun times. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much how I first got into it. As it progressed, do you want to go forward to
Let me
get
make a
into?
quick comment real quick while it's on my mind. I'm someone who messes around on a lot of different chains. And it's funny that you mentioned that all those years ago, one of the things that attracted you to Cardano was the founder presence. And it's funny because even to this day, I can't really think of another founder in blockchain that's as active as Charles is. I mean, the dude is constantly going to conferences, constantly making videos, constantly going on spaces. It's kind of insane, and some people will love and hate, some of his political stances or blah, 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 blah. But you have to at least admit that he's been active this whole entire time and has really been trying to push the chain forward, which you can't really say about a lot of other founders, honestly. So yeah, I thought that part was interesting. Now,
Yep.
now for the second part of the question, okay, so that's how you got into Cardano, but how did you then transition into a builder? how did that transition take place?
So before Vesper, there was actually another project that I was working on. It all started with the launch of NFTs in Cardano, as a matter of fact. When they first came along, if you remember, I guess the launch of Space Buds and Cardano Bits, some of those that were very early on, they were really, really like popular, like the demand. I don't know if you've been around when not Space Buds, sorry, and the Cardano Bits like did the sale. It was done through a Google Docs page. So if you've not seen it, basically they had 10 prices. So the first 1,000 was going at a cheaper price than the next 10,000, then the next 1,000 and the next 1,000 and so forth. But this was not properly tracked and there was no real-time mint. You're basically sending money to an address and hoping that eventually someone will send you something in return. And they were literally looking in Cardano scan to see the amount of transactions being made. And in real time, they were updating the Google Docs saying, oh, we're past this threshold. Now send this amount to this address. Like literally the Google Doc was not loading because it was thousands of people opening the stupid like document at the same time. So like I saw that like insane demand. That's like that's interesting. So I have to say that the first thought was that maybe I should look into doing an NFT project as well. It was quite like early, like before the big NFT hype even. So I also already had the experience by working as a software engineer in general for quite some time before. I'll get into that more in a second. So I knew that I could set up everything to do an NFT sale. And unlike Spacebuds, I knew that I could actually make a system to automate it and to mint it in real time, kind of like what NMKR is at the moment. So I started on this journey. I got a friend that was a designer to do the artwork. We put together a website and we're working also on the system to make the real-time minting happen, like the vending machine for NFTs. In parallel, I was thinking, how can I improve this overall, I guess, attention to what we're doing? And I decided to make a mobile application for viewing your NFTs. So a very long time ago, which is before Vesper Wallet, there was NFT Craze Gallery, which was a mobile app to view your NFTs. Didn't do anything more. You just had the gallery to see
you could just look
phone.
at them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was like a pool PM for your phone, practically. But that is something that we've done. And while I was working on the system, I was also looking at how to do the sale in a way where I wouldn't have legal problems because it was a lot more uncertain than it is now. I was looking in different ways. I was living in UK at the time. I tried to speak with some accountants in UK. I tried to speak with some accountants in Romania because, well, I am Romanian. And it was pretty much dead end. Everyone was telling me like, oh, you cannot do this. You need to do invoicing. And you need to know exactly who's buying, which obviously was a dead end if you want to do an NFT sale, because no one would stay to actually put their details and do invoicing. So I ended up never launching the sale, like never happened. But what I've done is I repurposed the vending machine, like the tool that I've done for minting NFTs in real time for sales, and I turned it into a B2B service. So what I was doing is I was helping artists run their own sales and I was taking a commission on that. So quite a few sales at the beginning, like some of the slightly larger ones as well, have been minted by our product. So some of them that you may or may not know are the Refresh NFT, also Chains of War. So
oh, you guys did Chains of War, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so those are the biggest sales that we've done. That was way before NMKR, by the way. I was the first one to have like a vending machine for real-time minting during the sale. So
Yeah. And I saw Ashley say too, had a similar experience with the UK with the accounting, much better these days. It's funny, like I was in the US, which was even worse. And I remember right before launching Jelly Cubes, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna move to Portugal, and I like sold all my stuff and went to Portugal, because I was like, okay, this is probably like way less, risky over in Portugal, but yeah,
mhm.
no, crazy times that you're bringing up. Like this was you were really, I guess, pioneering the minting space on Cardano NFTs back before there was JPEG Store, back before there was all of this, easier minting processes and maker
Yep.
gateways. Like I remember at that time, even for me about 3 years ago now, it was really hard to even find a developer to mint the collection.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so so it's I remember these times very, very like vividly actually.
Yes, yes. They were crazy times. So I've been doing that for a while. Funnily enough, I never publicly advertised it. Like I was doing it quite constantly, like quite a few sales that I've done, and they were generally done only through word of mouth. People that were working with me spreading the word further, and then I was getting like new clients because, as you're saying, there weren't a lot of options. And I mean, we were the first one. We were literally the first one on Cardano. But at the time, I was also still working full time as a software engineer, like on Web2, basically. So I guess I can call it my mistake, is that I assumed that the whole NFT thing wouldn't last, at least not with the same hype for as long as it did. So I never had the intention to like develop that tool that I had into a proper product, and that's where NMKR came in, and they did this. So like over time, of course, they end up taking like the market share that I was having, which is normal since like they have been putting a lot of effort. They built a good product, and like unlike me, like they actually focused on it. So no harm feelings there. Patrick is a cool guy, but yeah,
Yeah.
like he betted on something that I was not willing to at the time. So like he end up like I guess it ended up playing very well for him. But yeah, this is kind of like the very first dev part of it. We also moved on after this, and we've done a project with my now co-founder from Vespr as well as an agency. So we've taken it was still related to NFTs more or less, but we've taken like a software project and we did it as an agency. That was, well, it was when ADA was already quite high. So we started it when ADA was like $2.50 or something like this. We priced it in ADA. And as we were building it, it kept on crashing. I was like, oh my God, like we're losing so much money on this project. But yeah, funny times. But
Yeah, and I noticed. What's up, Cardano Steak Bowl? He's saying he hopes
hmm,
he can meet you at an event in the future, which we'll get into actually. Yeah, we're gonna get into some future events where you can meet up. But yeah, so
hmm.
so that was kind of your early dev experience. When did the transition happen for the wallet, and why did you see the need for a wallet on Cardano?
So the need was there like quite all along, and I have been seeing it for quite some time. So this may answer one of the future questions as well, but I will go back into my experience first. So before doing anything Cardano specific or Web3 specific, my main expertise has been all along as a mobile expert. So I was working in especially in fintech companies in UK, which like some of them are American Express, Virgin Money, Tesco Bank, and like a few other companies. So I was looking at the Cardano space around this time when I was doing all the other projects. And to me, it looked like there's a big gap. I was looking at all the wallets that existed for mobile in particular. Web has never been my expertise by any means. But on mobile, I knew that I can personally deliver something that's way better than everything that we have available. So that pretty much how it all started. Like I started working initially on it part-time, trying to get it to an initial stage. I got another couple of people to help along the way. And around 2 years and a bit ago, which is, I'd say, more or less 1 year after I initially started working on it myself, we managed to make the first like public release of Vesper. Obviously, the product has come a very long way since then, but all the like deep experience in mobile specifically has been like a tremendous help to be able to deliver a product that is very, very good on mobile. And for the longest time, we've been mobile only as a wallet. Like only like 6 months ago or so, we launched the web extension version of Vesper.
And I can't remember, were you guys the first mobile wallet on Cardano?
No,
No,
we're
but
funnily enough, we're actually one of the latest joiners to the wallet space as a whole. So by the time we launched, like Eternal was there already, including with mobile. Begin Wallet was there as well with mobile. Yoroi was there. The only wallet that launched after us is Tokyo. Like no other wallet launched like after
it's
us.
it's interesting though, because out of everyone I knew, it wasn't until Vesper came that people started using mobile wallets on Cardano, from like my experience. So what do you think? Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think about Vesper really differentiated from these other wallets and really got so much love and, I guess, respect from the community to use?
Um, I believe the product speaks for itself in general. So all the other alternatives, I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to them, but they are mainly web first aligned. And I believe this is a very big issue. And this goes not only on the product side, but also on the tech stack. So they are built on the technology that is specifically good for web. And the product itself, they have been always focusing on the web experience much more than the mobile one. This is like something that we've done, which is different. Like we actually started with a technology stack that is particularly good at making good mobile experiences. And also we looked at the product from the mobile first perspective. I mean, this is the, I guess, part of the answer. The other part is the fact that we actually put a lot of effort and we had the expertise to make something really, really good that is like blazing fast, that's secure, and that would completely like meet the expectations and more of the users.
And I'm curious, like, because there's a lot of different wallets on a lot of chains. What's sort of the business behind a wallet? Like I know, I know it's cool for the user side, but from the founder side or the project side, like what's the business that goes behind making wallets? Like why are so many projects, I guess, trying to like make a wallet? How is it monetized, I
What?
guess?
Why they are trying to make it? Honestly, I'm actually not sure why this is such an attractive business. Because in reality, it's quite a complicated one. It's a lot easier to monetize like the dApps and everything else for the biggest part of it, and with any applications that are mobile facing, you're encountering another layer of challenges, which is Apple and Google. Most of the stuff where you want to monetize, you will very quickly find that Apple or Google doesn't allow you. And if they see that you're doing this, they may fully take your application off the market. If they do this, they practically kill your business. So normally speaking, up until literally a few weeks ago, you were not allowed to like buy or sell NFTs on a mobile application unless you do it, first of all, with in-app payments. So basically no crypto payments, only like Apple Pay and stuff like this. And also you needed to give Apple a 30% cut. So
Crazy.
even if we traded an NFTs, if I buy an NFT from you, like I would have to pay 30% of the sale price, like to Apple. So I was like, okay, that means it cannot be done because it's not like I'm a first time seller. I don't create that NFT to be able to give the 30%. If it's a marketplace where I just buy it from
Yeah.
another person, like I don't have where to give the 30% from unless I just add 30% on top of the listing price. So that's not been allowed. And a lot of those things are not allowed still when it comes to mobile applications, which makes monetization very, very tricky for mobile applications in crypto space. What we are doing, and is the main business model for all of the wallets, is focusing on the token swaps and charging a convenience fee in there. So there are some wallets that are trying to give premium features or something like this for money or to unlock some functionalities. We try to not do this. We believe that all the users should have the full capability and potential to explore everything that is Cardano. And instead, we decide that we'll focus only on adding a convenience fee, maybe in a few different locations. So trading, like swapping tokens, is one of them. Like we charge a convenience fee on all the token swaps that are going through Vespr, just like all the other wallets, really, in Cardano and beyond. And that is basically how we make some money to be able to grow as a business and to expand the project.
Okay, so it's so kind of the name of the game, at least on the business side, is getting
Mhm.
users to really enjoy the experience, and then you guys make a small percent on the swap. And ideally, as you have more customers or users within the wallet, it can sort of grow the business that way.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly it. And all the wallets, I believe this is by far the main monetization path for all the wallets on all the networks. We charge a 0.5% convenience fee. This is pretty standard with a one minimum a one ADA fee. And this is standard across all wallets on Cardano. All of them charge the same. Actually, quite a few of them charge a minimum 2 ADA fee. So I don't think there's any wallets that are charging less than us in Cardano. In other networks, they charge more. Usually, they charge closer to 1% fee.
Okay, and I saw from Gunny, he said you benefit from someone using Topper Pay and Wallet to buy ADA.
Yes, we do. That is another monetization path. We also have like a markup in there for the on and off ramp. However, the revenue that we make from the on and off ramp in reality is not that considerable. It barely moves the needle. So generally speaking, yes, we benefit from it, but not a lot. Like it's not something that's like a big monetization at the moment for us.
Nice. And going back, I know that you had brought up that challenge with the App Store, and I know a lot of crypto apps have sort of experienced that. And I think what's interesting is you guys went the mobile first approach, like you said, where it was only until recently, about 6 months ago, that you even had a desktop version. I'm curious, what other challenges have come up kind of in your journey of building Vesper, of building a wallet?
Challenges. Um,
Yeah, because that's
there
like a
have
pretty huge challenge to overcome when most of your business is, being restricted from, an app store. So I'm curious if there's been other challenges along your journey, whether that was making the desktop integration and like exploring that, or what sort of things you've had to face.
I think being a founder of any company, you are encountering challenges like continuously. It's something that never stops. Um, there have been challenges, even as I mentioned with the app stores. We have been at some point blocked for 1 month like from making an update in our application, because Apple kept on saying that we are doing something that we weren't even doing. So they, in the end, forced us to remove some functionality from Vesper, which was not necessarily a big deal, but the premise under which they were asking us to remove it was actually stupid, because that's the other problem. You're dealing with some reviewers which are not necessarily the most well-versed people, and more likely they don't know much about Web3 as a space. So sometimes they may think that you're doing something which you really aren't, and trying to explain it to them is almost always a dead end, because it gets nowhere. You also cannot really use too much, I guess, the legal aspect to try and get past it, because in the end they are guidelines of what you can and cannot do. It is not like a legal matter. They can just say, we don't want you to do this and you're not going to do this. And it's not about whether it's legal or it's illegal. It's about the fact that Apple, just don't want you to do this. And there's nothing you can do in that case. So those have been challenges, but as far as I know, absolutely everyone doing mobile applications encounters challenges sooner or later, especially in crypto space. Outside of this, delivering web has been quite a journey. Like, it took more than 6 months of almost constant development to get it done. But we're happy to be there now and to have it. Still, like, our user base is by large mobile based. Like, our mobile users are still accounting to over 95% of our total user base.
Oh, wow. 95% still, okay.
So people are still like liking us for mobile more. I think that's in a way natural. I do think that we are mobile first, and like, we take pride on making really, really great mobile applications. We believe web is important for compatibility reasons and to have like a product that's available just all around. But our focus is and will always be making sure that the mobile experience is the best that you can have, and not just on Cardano, but on any other chain.
And do you think in the longer term here that there's going to be an increasing growth and demand for mobile versus web? I guess my question is in the next years here, do you think there's going to be more demand and growth and more transition into the mobile side of things? Where I actually have no idea what the balance is right now. I'm usually using desktop personally. But yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
If you give me just a tiny second, I'm looking for a document which would exactly answer this question, because we looked recently into some statistics around mobile versus desktop usage. I'll have to see if I can find it very quickly, because I may not be able to.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. I think more and more people are starting to not really use their computers as much. And I think, like, in crypto in the beginning, it was like you didn't really have a choice. But now you're starting to have really great mobile wallet applications like Vesper. And yeah, let's see. Add the screen here.
Yeah, can you see that?
I can. Okay, yeah. So I guess that analysis is correct.
So yes, the future of finance is at large mobile, and there is absolutely no questioning there. I mean, looking in 2015, all the finance stuff, like 10% of it was done on mobile. And now, 10 years later, 60% of everything that's finance, this is not crypto or specific, by the way, it's just finance as a whole. Like, it's 60% done on mobile. And it's going down. Like, obviously the in-person goes down the hardest, but desktop is also like going down. So the trend is really, really clear. Like mobile as a whole is definitely becoming the priority here.
Yeah, I even remember with, like, I know this is for finance in general. I even remember Robinhood. One of the reasons Robinhood really blew up is having a really great mobile app experience. And yeah, I mean, I think you guys are in a good position for that. I think a lot of people, a lot of wallets, like you said, had built and prioritized a web version, and then they were like trying to convert that into a mobile version, where you guys took the opposite approach and was like, let's make sure the mobile experience is as good as possible, and then we can sort of build out some different infrastructure for the web. But you didn't like cheap out building the mobile version, you actually prioritized it.
Absolutely. Like mobile has been and will always be the focus as as we progress with Vesper Wallet.
Nice. And I have seen multiple questions from Cardano Stake Bowl. He was saying something, you guys have some sort of Vesper stake tab. He was wondering like if there's going to be any sort of mint or key or anything you guys do in the future for people that are staking, maybe some sort of key or slot. I don't know too much about the staking side. Maybe if you can mention the staking and if there's going to be anything, any sort of mint or I even am curious, like you guys don't have like a token or any way for someone to invest in Vesper other than using it. Do you guys have any plans for this sort of thing?
I'm actually very proud of the fact that we got as far as we did without creating any tokens or selling any NFTs. So we went completely I guess the standard, like Web2 way of building a business where you rely, I guess, on your own money or like whatever else. Like we are fully bootstrapped to date, and we never sold anything to our users. Our users always came to us because we just offer a great product, not because we're incentivizing them. And there are a lot of projects that are trying to incentivize users to use their product. And even though they do this, it's not always playing out as well as they'd hope. But no, we have not done any of this in the past, and we do not currently plan to do it in the future either. I believe that there are a few, not necessarily issues, but challenges if you go down the token or NFT route. First of all, with a company, if the tokens are not, I guess, tokenized equity in your own company, you create a divergence where there may be a conflict of interests because you have shareholders in the company which are not the same as the token holders, and you will have decisions that need to be made which sometimes benefit one over the other. So that creates a weird dynamic where you have to sometimes you can do decisions that benefits both, but quite often you will find yourself in a spot where you need to decide what are you going to prioritize, the shareholders or the token holders. I think that is a problem, and it is something that would be harder and harder to manage as a business is expanding. Other than this, I'm looking at many other projects that created tokens. If you look in their Discord in general, you will notice that most of the discussions are around the token price. People focus more on the token than on the product at that point, and you as a founder will start focusing as well more on the token than on the actual product. Your goal would be to try and get that token price to increase. Sometimes this is by making a better product, but quite often is not. So you will have to spend a lot of effort just thinking about what can you do to make the price for the token go higher. I think this is detrimental to the company because you're not focusing on what is best long term. You're just focusing on what's best for the token right now to pump.
Man, I'm going to clip that and post that. Dude, I mean, it's so facts. It's so facts. I think a lot of times projects are almost forced into doing a token for fundraising. Like it was awesome that you guys were able to bootstrap it. And I think one of the benefits is you were able to do a lot of stuff because you have a background in software engineering, if I remember correctly. So yeah, no, you're completely right. I think this is an interesting dynamic we're seeing in crypto right now where a lot of times when tokens do a raise, you're not actually getting equity. You're not actually getting ownership in the company. it's almost like fabricated. It's not like a traditional Web 2 company where you go to like Shark Tank and they get a percentage of the company. Instead, you're kind of creating this token that needs to be tied to the success, but isn't really the company. And then, like you said, let's say you have shareholders, you're now in a situation where, let's say you make 100,000 ADA in transaction fees. Okay, well, how much of that ADA goes to distributing to your shareholders that maybe had done some private investment? How much goes to the team? How much goes to expanding the team? How much goes to expanding the product? Once you have a token, it's like, okay, well, we need to have some sort of incentive here so it's aligned. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to take ADA and buy up those tokens so the floor goes up. It's a very interesting dynamic in crypto right now. And, you know, even with my project, Jelly Cubes, it's something that I think about. It's like right now we'll generate revenue from, you know, helping projects with marketing and advising and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, how much of that revenue do you use to buy the token back? It wasn't originally part of the scope when we first did the token, but you want the community to benefit.
Yep.
And at the same time, how much do we, you know, invest in growing the actual company itself to make the brand and project and product better?
You know, I'm looking at this
Yeah.
as running a company on leverage. When the price
Yeah.
goes up, like the community and the boost that you get from your community exponentially increases like your outreach and everything for your company. So it's similarly like when you trade with leverage and the price goes up, you get exponential like benefit from it. But also when the price goes down, you also get liquidated by your
Yes.
shareholders because everyone would be on you like at that point.
Yeah. And I think with Vesper's situation, I think it's the right play. Like if you guys don't need the capital, there's no point. And if you ever get to a position where Cardano is really blowing up and Vesper's at an insane level, then you could potentially think about some of like these other things if you wanted to at that point. Because I know Phantom Wallet, they just raised maybe, I mean, I just say just raised recently, but they did over $100 million in a Series B round. And that's what I think is really interesting with these wallets that a lot of people don't realize, and why I asked you to bring up the business side is if you're able to get a crazy amount of users like Phantom over on Solana, they are making millions of dollars a week just in these different transactions. And it put them in a situation where, because they want to expand other things, they were able to raise a ton of money. It's very interesting, but I think like at this point in time, you guys are doing the right thing for sure. And you know, I think you just deal with so many different issues. And like you said, let's say the token does bad, people might stop using Vesper, people start fudding Vesper. There's like this alternative sentiment to just building a good product and having people want to use it.
Yes, it definitely makes everything a lot trickier to manage. As you're saying, yes, Phantom, for example, is a success story that never issued the token and they still managed to be wildly successful. I'm looking at what they did as an inspiration as well. So I'd say that looking into the future, we would be interested as well to raise some capital. So we may do a funding round, but it will unlikely be through some token generation event or anything like this. We'll be looking more into the traditional
Private.
way of raising capital. Yes, by actually giving equity, and this would allow us to actually keep our interests aligned with what's best for the product and not have to worry about price, especially if you do like a token event to raise capital. You will have a few people that are usually becoming large holders. You are always at risk if those people decide to sell and crush the price. So like we don't want to deal with any of this. We want to make sure that our attention stays purely on Vesper as a product and as a company, and we do not need to worry about the token aspects of it.
Makes sense. And on to the kind of next thing here. I saw that you were at Draper University. I'm curious how that experience was. And I know you mentioned having some more in-person events that you're going to be going to, similar to that one. But yeah, like how was your experience with that, and what's coming up with some of these in-person things?
Okay, so to get into the Draper University Accelerator, for the people that are not aware of what this was, it was a Catalyst-funded initiative which was like organized by Draper University in partnership with Cardano Foundation. Draper, for the people that are not familiar, is one of the largest VCs in the world, and they have multiple funds which are particularly focused on the Web3 space. So they're doing a lot of funding for companies like in this space. Such initiative for Cardano is a massive success, like to begin with. And when we applied, to be honest, I didn't have a lot of expectations. I didn't know what would come out of it. Found out afterwards that it was a massive number of applicants actually, because over 400 projects applied and only 20 got selected. So we're like really happy that we got to be selected as part of the project, because what we learned there is invaluable. The project itself ran for 5 weeks in San Francisco, and it was focused primarily in finding out how exactly the VC landscape works, understanding how the VCs think, how you can reach out to them to potentially do a fundraise for your company, and also what it takes to expand your business as a whole, to scale it, to look into expanding your team, and I guess everything that comes with just trying to grow a big company. At the beginning, it was a bit of a weird start, mainly because the timing was a bit odd, to say the least. So the applications deadline got extended by 2 weeks on the normally final day of the application, which was like, okay, fine. And after that, you had an interview, and post interview, there was a few days for decision making, but the project was starting literally 1 week after the decision making, or 2 weeks at most, which is like a very narrow time frame. I personally don't live in the US. I didn't even have a US visa. So so when we found out that we got accepted, I was like, great, but fuck, I don't have a US visa. I need to go and get one to be able to go there. When I tried to get it, like it took me, like initially they scheduled me to have an interview for the visa in 1 month. And I was like, wait, that cannot happen because I need to be
Yeah,
there in
it's not
one
gonna
week.
work.
So I managed to get like a business emergency meeting to like fast track the visa application. But yeah, the idea is that the scheduling at the very beginning was like, I guess, pretty bad, which got me to lower my expectations of what the project may be. But fortunately, I was very wrong. The project actually turned out to be like insane. I think if this project keeps on running in Cardano, it would be a massive success for the chain as a whole, because like we couldn't have learned what we learned there anywhere. We had a lot of discussions like in person with different VC investors, and we had a lot of talks from them, as well as from different successful founders from like different companies. I guess something like Unstoppable Domain, Yad Labs, and quite a few others. And the very nice thing about all of those discussions and lectures is that usually you had like 30 minutes or so of presentation, but then you had 30 minutes to an hour of just Q&A. So it was 30 people in there. Like we had so much time to ask everything that comes to our mind to all of those people that not only look at companies to see who's potentially like interesting and investable, but also at very successful founders that manage to like make big companies, raise capital, and it allowed us the unique opportunity of getting all of our questions answered. The space as well, being in Silicon Valley, was pretty much unmatched. like the opportunity that we could see there and the kind of people that you could meet is definitely not something that you can come around anywhere else. So this was incredibly unique. At last, we've been there, like as part of the 20 companies that got selected, and we already knew some of them to some extent, but it also helped us form really tight bonds with everyone involved because we stayed in the same campus for 5 weeks. We were spending all the time together. It really helped us, and I believe this will be very beneficial for Cardano as well. Uh, we formed a lot of partnerships out of this. It also helped us narrow down what matters and what doesn't matter from both the business and the product perspective. It put us in situations where we had to take a very hard look at what we're looking to do and to, I guess, plan better our next steps. And this has been invaluable. Like through all of those lectures and discussions, we realized exactly what Vesper should target as next step and what is the final goal of where Vesper should reach. This is something that I guess was really not well defined until then, because quite often I didn't stay to think very much about what exactly am I heading towards as the very last step of Vesper. What is the main, I guess, golden ticket of what we can achieve. And this forced us to do this. It was insanely good because we got back with like a lot of great energy and a lot of dedication to know exactly what we want to build.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like the amount of value in that because not only getting to meet those other projects in person and being able to get those partnerships, but that hand-on learning. I mean, essentially, it's a 5 to 6 week boot camp, business boot camp, where
Yep.
you're learning about. So, what sort of things were they teaching you? Were they teaching you just like how VCs operate, or were they like teaching you how to scale your business, or what are like some of the okay? How about this? Three biggest takeaways that you had. Three biggest learning takeaways from the event.
It's a bit tricky because some takeaways are not necessarily very focused around what you learned directly, but through the challenges that they put you in, they force all of us to have like a deeper look into our project and our company itself to see exactly what we need to take it to the next level. So it forced us to look exactly and define our long-term vision, see, like look at all the markets, analyze everything that we can do, which markets we can enter, what is the benefit of entering those, and it pretty much defined exactly the strategy for many of us. It also helped us align into achieving similar goals where like different people fit different parts of the same image. In this case, like to be more specific, like going up after the Bitcoin integration and using Cardano at a DeFi layer for Bitcoin is something that ended up being quite a big focus. And this itself is not something that a company can do. It needs to be like a joint agreement where different companies provide different parts. We're looking at something like Maestro, which would be integral part for the indexer, like I guess data provider infrastructure. We're looking at people like the Fluid token guys, which will be providing the yield opportunities to like give a reason for people to use Cardano as a Bitcoin DeFi layer, similarly with Sundial. And all of this is something that comes together, like, and it came together from all the conversations there. We'll be looking as a consequence to integrate Bitcoin as a top priority right now. We'll be working closely with Fluid and Sundial to make sure that we can provide yield opportunities so that people can easily like put their Bitcoin to use. So a lot of this like really came out of just being there. So it may not necessarily be something that we learned directly as a lesson, but it forced us to assess exactly what we can do, not only as individuals, but as a group together. And we are looking to push this whole narrative of integrating Cardano as a Bitcoin DeFi layer. And we're looking at making sure that the experience works flawlessly end to end. We're not just going to build independently, we're going to do it together as a close group with like constant communication to make sure that every single piece fits in just right.
Dude, I heard when we were talking before we hopped on this that you're expanding your team as well. Like, did you want to go into that? And I'm kind of curious. You're mentioning, game plan and stuff like expand the team. What can sort of people expect next for Vespr?
Yes, so we are expanding our team. We already started it. Funnily enough, last week we put an ad on LinkedIn that we're hiring a Flutter developer. Before we even got the chance to advertise it on X as well to our community, and then it ended up being filled because like one of my close friends and former coworker from while I was in the UK like messaged me that he just finished a contract. So I was like, okay, that makes it very easy because he's actually
Perfect.
pretty familiar with the space as well, and he's an insanely good engineer. I was like, okay, that settles it. So literally, we got someone that started already a few days ago, even though we just put the ad like last week. So yeah, we're expanding the developer side. We'll be looking very soon to get someone on the product and the UI UX side. So basically a designer that is also quite well versed in the product side of things, especially mobile. After that, there is a very good chance just in a few weeks from now, we may hire an extra engineer. And this may not sound like a very big expansion, but looking at the fact that it was me and another person that was building everything, we're basically looking at more than doubling our capacity. So that will increase a lot the speed with which we'll develop.
Awesome. Dude, I didn't know it was just two people. Holy crap. You guys built all this with two people?
Pretty much. Yeah, so
Wow.
pretty much there's almost never been a point with more than 3 people working in at the same time on Vesper. Most of the time it's been like 2 people. So yeah, like we've been a very small team, and I guess that's part of the reason of how we like managed to do this without doing any token sales or anything. We just stayed very lean. Like we relied very heavily on our expertise, and we put as much time as we could on working on Vesper. And of course, it was full time all along, so it's not like a side job or anything like this. It is 2 people full time on Vesper. But yeah, still very small. Like if you look at all the other like bigger wallets or companies out there, like we are like a tiny fraction of them. Even looking at Lace is probably 15 people. Like I don't know, maybe even more at times.
Crazy. But dude, Alex, we're almost at an hour already. So I'm kind of at my last question here that I always like to ask at the end of these podcasts, and that's where do you hope to see Vesper go in like the next 3 to 5 years? In the most ideal situation, where's Vesper at?
It may sound as a surprise, but the whole goal of Vesper over the longer period of time would be to abstract away all the crypto elements. We're looking to just become a gateway to an alternative financial system. So what this means is that you will be able to use Vesper still permissionlessly everywhere in the world. You would not, like we wouldn't become custodian by any means, but we will abstract away the elements of crypto as much as possible. So hiding the networks that you're operating in and focusing on what you're doing exactly. So you would be able to send different currencies like Bitcoin, Cardano, maybe others as well. You would be able to earn yield on them to swap between different tokens. And if the industry is moving the direction which it seems to be moving, maybe tokenized equity as well. So basically stocks and shares that are tokenized, you should be able to buy those through Vespr in the future and pretty much make it a global financial app that still focuses on self-custody that everyone can use like everywhere, and it's instant. It has opportunities to make money and trade, and you don't need to know about the fact that it's even like used through crypto. It's just a financial application practically.
I love the vision in that. It's funny, the tokenized, sort of securities I know on the injective blockchain, you can invest in Nvidia and Tesla and Google. Like you can invest in all those stocks and they even have perpetuals so you can long them or you can short them. And that is coming to Cardano, like undoubtedly. And if you guys like no one's doing it that I know of, but if you guys can be one of the first ones to have that all within the wallet, I think that's a really smart route to go because I know on Injective, it's comprising up the vast majority of their volume is actually just tokenized perpetual securities.
Yes. So we wouldn't be building the solution ourselves. We're mostly looking through third-party integrations in general. But I know for a fact that there are some movements on Cardano actually focusing on tokenizing US stocks. So it will be coming, that's for sure. But as I was saying, we will actually be chain agnostic. So we'll be looking at integrating different networks, not because the network itself is popular or something. We'll just be looking at the networks from the perspective of what can it bring to Vesper as a product. Can it bring tokenized assets? Well, that is a good enough point where we want to make sure we integrate it. And as long as there's a good bridge or anything that we can use to, I guess, move tokens cross chain, we don't need to even mention like which network those tokenized equities are on. You just need to know that you're holding NVIDIA shares.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the idea, like integrate on a per need basis if it can provide a functionality that we want, not necessarily looking at the market cap or how big the chain is itself. It's just, is it working for us? Is it providing what we need? That's perfect.
Hell yeah, Alex. Well, this has been a great conversation. Over 370 people tuned in throughout all the channels, which is awesome on a live. So I appreciate everyone that listened in today and kind of heard Alex preach about Vesper, hear your story a little bit more. This was actually our first time talking as well. So it was great being able to meet another builder in the space. And yeah, anything you want to say before we wrap up today?
Thank you a lot for meeting with me. This has been a very pleasant conversation. So I'm absolutely thrilled that we decided to go and do this interview. Just one last thing is that for everyone looking to meet us in person as well, we will be attending some events in the near future. So the most notable ones are the Rare Evo in August in Las Vegas. We'll also be going to the Cardano Summit, which I'm still waiting to be announced, like when and where it is, but we're definitely not missing that. And we would be going to Japan in October for Tech for Impact. So for most of those, we would be like guest speakers as well. But if you want to meet us, like absolutely come see us there. Like we'd love to speak with all of you.
Sweet, dude, that's awesome. What's that before wrapping up, what's the Japan one? I might be interested in going to that one too.
It's called Tech for Impact. I believe it's around the 8th of October, something like this. And it's organized by Socius, which is still like one of the big, I guess, the reps that are playing like an important part of Cardano for the Japanese community in particular.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, Alex, hope you enjoy those events. Glad to see you out there and speaking as well. And once again, thank you for coming on. Thank you to everyone listening. I think that wraps up the JellyPod episode today. So I'll catch you guys later.